I want to start this video by prefacing that I am in no way intending to disrespect anyone's faith in making this video. This is just my perspective as an non-religious person. This is a quick guide to improving your current state and your current outlook on your life. The first thing I want to talk about is dopamine and depression. Now, these two are quite usually linked, as in today's world, we live in a consumerist or consumerism society. Everything's based around overconsumption and taking, and not really giving much in terms of self-care. Fast food's everywhere, sugar's everywhere, entertainment is everywhere, sex and pornography is everywhere. Social media brings things like envy and jealousy and arrogance and pride, and everything is centered around consuming too much of stuff that isn't good for us. And naturally you can see how this links to depression, because depression can be described very plainly as a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest in the things you once enjoyed, and just loss of interest in doing normal day-to-day tasks. And it typically lasts around 2 weeks or more. So I like to describe depression as a sort of finding comfort in low vibrational frequencies. But I'm going to talk about vibrational frequencies in a second. So naturally, as we overstimulate ourselves with dopamine, depression becomes a sort of subconscious response, because everything, we always say everything feels like shit, because that's what depression is described as. So now I want to talk about how you can improve yourself out of this state of overconsumption of dopamine, then becoming depressed from it. How can you sort of pull yourself up from it? First thing I want to talk about, and this is why I did that disclaimer at the beginning of the video. The first thing I want to talk about is how understanding God and the devil, or heaven and hell, can sort of help assist you in choosing the right thought process to guide yourself out of it. And this is why I say religion's great, because you can go to somewhere like a church or a mosque or whatever, and you can pray or repent or whatever it is to your God, and it's a way to sort of release all this low vibrational frequency inside yourself. So if you understand, or this is how I see it, which could maybe be of use to you. Look at God and the devil as God being high vibrational frequencies and the devil being low vibrational frequencies. In order to understand this, you need to understand that everything is made up of energy. That's a known fact, as you can see, right? So your emotions are energy. Energy has a frequency. Your emotions have a frequency. Higher frequencies are lighter. They expand your being, right? Low frequencies, they contract you. They make you feel heavy. That's why when people are depressed, they tend to just lay in one place for a very, very long time because they don't want to move. They feel heavy. They feel they can't talk to people. They feel sad. They feel like brought down, right? So understand that. I'm going to put a picture here of the frequencies of all the different emotion, not all the different emotions, but a frequency of like all the major emotions that humans feel. Um, there, I'm going to leave that there for a second. So as you can see, neutrality is around 250 hertz, right? Now, anything below that starts to become contracted and negative, and you have things like lust, apathy, anger, all these low vibrational frequencies. They subtract from your neutral state, right? Which is neutral state is, you're not happy but you're not sad. You're just going about your day, right? You don't feel any type of sadness, which is the main bit. Is you don't feel any sort of negativity. You just are, right? Now, the lower vibrational frequencies, or hell, as I like to call it, is this state of being where you are contracted and you're sad and you're full of you're apathetic and all these negative emotions. Yeah. On the flip side of it is what I like to call God frequencies, which are the higher vibrational frequencies: love, happiness, peace, bliss, all these nice things that everyone likes to feel, right? They pull you up, right? They make you feel lighter. They make you feel happy. They expand your energetic field. When you're in a good mood, let's say you're walking down the street and you're in a really good mood. You're really happy, right? And you naturally you naturally have a smile on your face, and you're just going about your day in a happy state. It's expansive, and people can see that, right? And that's why more people might approach you, more people might speak to you, or you might be inclined to speak to more people naturally without even thinking, because these positive emotions, they pull you up and they expand you into this higher frequency being, right? So we have God and the devil, or heaven and hell, these things, okay? You need to, how does this link to depression and all this stuff, right? You need to understand, first of all, that we live in, people say this in a certain way. I forgot how to say it, but essentially the planet Earth is the devil's realm, okay? Or the current society that we live in is powered by the devil. It's powered by negative frequencies. That's why it's so easy nowadays to fall into these low vibrations, because we're surrounded by them, right? Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's porn everywhere, fast food everywhere, fucking social media is bringing all this bullshit into people's life. Everything is or the majority of things are negative, right? And the reason it's so easy to fall into it as well is because the devil, or hell, feels good in the moment, and a lot of people can't control themselves because of how easy it is to feel good in the moment, right? Whereas God is more what's the word? It's the gratification of these higher vibrational frequencies are more delayed, right? Or they come at a slower rate, right? That's why, for example, when you feel depressed, you're likely to go on your phone and scroll more because it feels good and it's making you feel good in the moment, right? And you think it's helping because you feel good in the moment, but actually it's just prolonging it's prolonging the depression, and it's pushing further away what needs to be done, which is pulling yourself up. Now, how can we pull ourselves up? Essentially, it's vices versus virtues. So the devil comes about through vices and God comes about through virtues. So what you need to do is, if you're feeling depressed right now, yeah, you need to identify where in your life, where in your day-to-day you are engaging with the devil frequencies or the vices, right? So for example, one of my biggest challenges growing up was lust and pornography. And I would watch it too much because it felt great and it was addictive, and I would always be watching it, right? And naturally, lust is a vice. Naturally, you're going to decrease your frequency. You're going to feel worse because first, it's overstimulating dopamine, but it's also changing your perspective on people, and it's shameful because you feel like it's this thing that you do and you can't tell anyone about, and it's sort of like, it's like a drug addiction essentially. So yeah, that was one of my biggest vices, and you have to replace the vice with the virtue. There's a corresponding virtue to every vice. I can't remember it off the top of my head, so I'm just going to put a picture here. But yeah, read that and then just identify the vice that is keeping you in a low vibrational state, and just replace it with the virtue. Now obviously it's going to be hard, like you can't just do it overnight. You need to sort of rewire yourself after a long time of living in these vices, but eventually, naturally, you'll come out of it, and you'll see the other side, and you'll realize that life isn't so bad,